Is this, or is it not, the greatest bearded leader you have ever seen in a Civilization game? Civilization 7's November patch update has me, just quietly, a little excited. Naval gameplay is receiving a massive overhaul. Piracy and real pirates are coming to Civilization 7 properly this time, and there's a free DLC pack with new civilizations coming very soon. Let's take a look. We have seriously so much to discuss, I really don't want to waste your time, so there'll be time cards below, as always. Let's jump straight in. The headlining change is, of course, the brand new DLC, and thankfully this time around, it's not paid, it's free. Who are we getting and when do we get them? First up, we have the Privateer faction, the Republic of Pirates, and Tonga, two new civilizations arriving in Civ 7 on November 4th. Alongside them, we'll receive a new leader, a very pirate-looking leader, Edward Teach, as well as 4 new wonders, the Great Lighthouse, Nan Madol, both returning, great to see, as well as that Great Blue Hole and the Mapu Avea blowholes. Those 2 civilizations, 4 wonders, and leader form the first part of the free Tides of Power Collection DLC, again releasing in November. The second part, coming in December of this year, brings the Ottomans, long-held fan-favorite civilization, to Civ 7, as well as Iceland, and again, 1 new leader, Sayyida al-Hura. This offer, by the way, will be available from November 4 through until the 5th of January 2026, so you have about 2 months. In the small print it says it's available to current owners of Civilization 7 and details on how to claim it will be shared on November 4. So, that's the Tides of Power free DLC. Honestly, it looks exciting, but it's sort of hard to tell. It's hard to tell whether civilizations will change the meta or not. What's much more likely to change the game is the free patch update. Update 1.3, the one that I teased in the introduction. The 3 headlining changes are new naval districts, well, 1 in the form of a warehouse building, a harbour, yikes, as well as a privateer unit, awesome. We have new resources in ocean terrain, and the part that I'm maybe most excited about, updated naval combat. The ships in this game look awesome. And just quietly, between you and I, I've always been a fan of naval gameplay in all 4X games. I think back to Humankind. I loved fighting with boats in that game. It seems to me like Civilization 7 actually is leaning into what Humankind did a little bit here. I see some familiarity with the update, so let's take a look at the juicy details. We'll also talk about their new push for more feedback, more community engagement, and the future of Civ 7, because there are some very interesting comments there about being able to play with 1 Civ throughout the whole game. But let's focus on the naval update first. So I'm going to jump ahead and take a look at the first change, main one, new building and unit, harbour and privateer. They say that to support a growing navy, they're introducing a new warehouse building. Hooray! It'll be available to all civilizations. It's called a harbour. You're probably familiar with the concept. It's a new water-based warehouse building. It has a base production yield and gives extra production on your fishing boats. So, a subtle buff to all of the naval civs, and that actually will be a reoccurring theme as we move through here. The harbour district will also act as a spawn point for naval units, just like the barracks does, so it'll remove a bit of the guesswork around where your ships will actually be appearing. Speaking of ships, the second part here is the privateer, a new light naval unit, and we'll talk about the distinction between light and heavy in a moment. It's available in the exploration age through the heraldry civic. They say in terms of combat strength, it's a little bit better than a cog, and maybe a little worse than a carack, but its real power comes from its utility and speed. The thing that I'm most excited about is actually none of those things, but rather that this ship is designed as you might expect. It's a naval raider unit. Its ability to cross borders of other civilizations freely allows it to pillage. You can even attack military units of any non-allied civilization. You do not need to be at war with them. Regardless of your war status, you can get out there, plunder, and pirate away. This is big. Great to see. The oceanic world is set to become more interesting too, though I would note they don't specifically mention new map types, so archipelago or maybe continents and islands, I don't know, might be your best bet. However, within the existing maps, we know about new changes. Firstly, 3 new water resources, crabs, our people, turtles, and cowrie, and pitch, a new land-based resource. They say they've also updated the resource spawning to make it a little bit more reliable. In terms of broader terrain, we're also getting some new tile types. Atolls will appear in deep ocean, those kind of sort of low-lying islands. They say it'll act as movement-stopping terrain to create choke points, as well as a new lotus terrain type that will spawn in lakes, providing you extra food and gold. The existing reefs in the game should also be a little bit stronger. Oh, and also quickly here, it's important to note their last little point, speaking of the ocean, they've made ocean tiles workable in the modern age. Hawaii can do so in the exploration age, another subtle nod towards improving the playability and overall strength of naval civilizations. Speaking of said civilizations, let's talk about the last change, for all of them will be interested in naval combat just like me. The final piece of the what they call fresh update to naval combat is a significant pass at naval warfare, trying to make it feel more impactful and define the specific strengths of seafaring units. What does that mean in practice? All naval combat used to be melee. What? Yeah, it's true. But now ranged units will also be added into the mix as well. Firaxis have divided naval units into two distinct types, light and heavy units. Light naval units are melee. They have extra unit movement, extra vision, and the ability to flank. Whereas heavy naval units are the new ranged units. As you might expect, they're a bit heavier, beefier, therefore they're slower than the light units, and they can't see as far. But heavy units make up for that lack of mobility and vision with stronger ranged attacks. And that kind of brings us to a natural resting point here, where we're going to end talking about the new patch update and begin to talk about the broader picture. There's some juicy stuff there. To quickly recap, on November 4th, we'll see the first part of the not paid, surprise, of the free DLC, the Tides of Power collection. We'll also receive the free patch update that will change naval combat, light and heavy units. We'll get the harbour, the privateer, as well as those new naval ocean-based resources, I should say, as well as a couple of new tile types. The big picture stuff, again, a bit of a change of pace, but the big picture stuff is maybe even more juicy. Let's see what Ed has to say. Ed starts by addressing the fact that Civilization 7 still does not have an updated roadmap. Something I feel particularly passionate about for early access games. Not, of course, that this is technically an early access game, but I think that it's really important for developers to share their vision, even if it's subject to change, because you have a lot of people who are invested. Financially, of course, because they've bought the game, but they're also emotionally invested. They care. And I think that communicating the message really matters. They say they haven't yet done that. They've held off providing, quote, too much detail until we knew the significant updates we wanted to make had a clear path forward and were sufficiently fleshed out. We've made some good strides here, so I can now share an update on two of the biggest things in motion, end quote. Okay, so no roadmap, but here's a kind of written version of what we're thinking about. Sadly, there are really only two updates, but they're both very fascinating. The first one, they say, quote, "We're testing some dramatic changes to the legacy paths and victories in Civilization 7. We want to open up the game and provide many new paths your empire can follow while achieving greatness and competing for victory." End quote. Literally, that's all they say about it. The only thing I can glean here is that they say they want to open it up and provide many new paths. I wonder if we're going to see a real opening of the different victory pathways, legacy pathways. Maybe there's an opportunity to achieve the, say, economic goal in a few different ways, or have different metrics that add to that one goal. Very interesting. Secondly, and maybe more interesting to the more vocal of you in the comments section over the last 8 months or so, they say, quote, "This one's been one of the most requested features from players. We're internally playtesting ways to play as one civ continuously through the ages, allowing you to choose a civilization from any age and guide them throughout your journey through history," end quote. The key takeaways there are, of course, the obvious thing that you'll be able to play as any civ through the entire game. And secondly, more importantly, they say it'll be a civ from any age, suggesting that the modern and exploration age civs will be pulled into this as well. Sounds exciting? Well, they say this is where we're inviting you, quote, to help us shape what these mechanics ultimately look like for Civ 7. Over the next few months, we're kicking off a new initiative, the Firaxis Feature Workshop. This is our way of opening the door earlier, inviting a small number of community members to get hands-on with features still in development, and tell us what's working, what's not, and what's missing, so that we can deliver the best possible Civ 7 experience, end quote. They'll be coordinating it through Discord, and they'll be sharing more details about it as the free DLC and patch rolls out at the start of November. So if you want to be part of a smaller group, the Firaxis Feature Workshop, maybe keep an eye out for that. My understanding is that it will feature bigots like me, as well as normal human beings who play the game and want to make it better. So keep an eye out for that if that's you. Finally, right at the bottom of Ed's update, he says, hey, look, we're heading into the holidays. You'll notice smaller, less frequent update while the team shifts into testing and iteration on larger changes and preparing for the workshop. They won't be radio silent, but they want time to get things right, and they have a Discord server already. That's the end of Ed's update, and also the end of the content part of this video. I don't have any more news for you, but maybe like you, I have a lot of thoughts bouncing around in my mind on the things that we just talked about. The legacy paths. Yeah, open them up. Give me more ways. Don't make it so that I just need the treasure resources. That's my inkling of the way that they're heading, but it's really vague, and the wording is, well, there's not a lot of words there at all, so it's hard to say. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I usually find a comment that I think, oh yeah, that's better than what I was thinking. And then the second thing that he teased is the continuous civilizations through the ages. Probably the most vocal, single complaint that I've heard anyway about Civilization 7 over the last 7 or 8 months. I personally don't actually really dislike the changing civs all that much. I will, of course, play a continuous civ mode, a classic mode, if you will. And then if I sort of take my mind back to the stuff we talked about at the start of the video, my thoughts on that are generally pretty positive. You've probably picked that up already. I like naval gameplay. I like to see more ships. I like to see a proper privateer. More resources, extra terrain in the sea. Seems like all good stuff for me. And the broader idea of releasing new civs for free as part of free updates, instead of putting them behind a paywall, particularly while Civilization is still very much struggling with bad reviews, negative player sentiment, and generally delivering a product that lots of people were unhappy with. I think this is a step in the right direction, and I'd love to see them continue to do this, particularly because we live in honestly a really crowded strategy environment at the moment. I intend to cover this update more, but I may not be able to, because just quietly between you and me, I'm quite busy with the new Anno game and the new Europa Universalis title. More broadly, recently we've also seen Ara History Untold roll out a massive update where they added new units to every civilization in the game, all 30 civs, and more. If that kind of stuff is possible in a free update, and more games continue to do things like that, then that should also put the pressure on here too. Combine that with their new Firaxis Feature Workshop, and I think generally, I'm feeling very positive about this news update and about these free changes to Civilization 7. Please, let's keep it coming. Of course, as always, I would love to hear your thoughts, so do chuck them down below. I'll be marauding in the comments section and keen to see what sort of insights you may have gleaned out of this rather substantial update. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.